Hello everyone. As we all know that UPSC Prelims 2025 is approaching fast, you all must be busy in giving your test series for prelims. So this video will be about how to use test series effectively for UPSC Prelims 2025. Now, from any test series for prelims, we can have two learnings, like which can be like flowers and thorns. The learnings which are like flowers, we will have to keep them, and the thorns, they are learning from which some learnings are going to be like thorns, which we are not going to throw away, but which but we will remember the pain they give us. So what prelims test series, now we will focus first on what prelims test series is not for. Score, whether irrespective of whether you are scoring high or low marks in your test series, you will not take that score to your heart, simply because the score which you are getting in your test series is not a determiner of the actual score you will be scoring in your UPSC prelims 2025. It's simply because the unpredictable nature of the UPSC. Sometimes they can play with the pattern of the paper, they can change the number of questions asked from a particular subject. Also, sometimes there can be a major portion of static or from current affairs. So simply, and there is a long time in between from now and your prelims 2025, and during which time you will revise a lot and prepare a lot. So your also your luck on that day will did all these things will play a major factor in determining your score on that day. Second would be, the test series are not to be taken as source of your questions, simply because uh, your source, your basic source would remain your books and your PYQs. So now comes the question that what is test series for? So according to me, these six things will define how you have to use your test series. First would be discipline, second would be revision, third test series would have to be used for aptitude development, for confidence building. Also, test series will help you in your customized strategy building. And sixth is that test series has to be used for error recognition. Now we will delve deeper into each of it, how that test series will help on developing each of these. First, how test series will help you in building your discipline. First, when you will regularly give your test series, so it will lead to a habit formation that you will be continuously sitting undisturbed for 2 hours. This will also help you in building focused attention on your question paper and without any distraction of mobile phone or some external affair. Plus, when you give this focused attention on your questions, you will also become self-aware of your weaknesses, like whether your reading speed is slow or fast, whether you're able to complete your question paper within the stipulated time, because you also have to fill bubbles also. Then it will also you will also become aware how much clarity you have and how much understanding of a particular subject you have or no, or you don't have. Second would be that test series will help you in your revision. Firstly, when you will read a question and when you try to answer, you will have to actively recall whatever you have learned. Second, it will help you in gaining much more clarity. Like when we read, like in, for example, in polity, you read that the constitution was adopted on a certain date and it came effect on a certain date. So now while reading, you may in the momentum of the reading, the mind may not register consciously the differentiation between the adopted date and the effective date. So but when you attempt a question, then your mind will be asked a question to actively recall and differentiate between date of adoption and a date which the constitution came into effect, and then it will help you in building clarity. Third, the more mistakes you make, the more corrections you'll make, and the mistakes you make are more likely you'll remember them, and in future on the final d-day you will are more likely to not commit them. So suppose you do make a question wrong while attempting your question, your test series about the GDP, then your mind will register that you made a certain mistake, and if and your mind will register that you don't have to do it. So this is like a learning pain, like a thorn which will be etched into your memory, and on the day you will recall that on, like, previously you had made this mistake, now you don't have to, you'll be conscious to not commit it again. And of course there will be certain questions in the test series which are new to you and relevant for the information, which you can mark in separate colors within the answer booklet, so that you can revise it again and again. Now, how test series will help in aptitude development. Now, when you face a question and suppose you don't know the answer to it directly, now what will you do? First is you'll learn by some logic, by reading the question again and again, by the phrasing of the question, or by deriving the meanings of the key words within the question. You'll try to reason out your knowledge, and you'll try to eliminate some of the options which can be eliminated, or you'll do some smart guesswork. Okay, and second, what you will do is, within the time limitation, when you don't know the answer directly, the answer to a question, you will try to reason out. Either you have to skip that question and then come again to it. You don't have to fight an ego battle there, because you are not interested in winning small battles, but you have to win the war, that is the entire paper. So the pressure that you are not knowing the answer and you have to skip to the next question, this habit and aptitude will build when you will give the test series regularly and time and again. And whenever you encounter a question which you cannot answer at that point of time, you have to overcome your ego, your knowledge ego that you have. You don't have to fight that battle, you have to skip that question, do the other questions, and then come on in the again other rounds. So this practice of how to handle the questions within limited time of frame, within the pressure handling, will be built only when you will attempt test series again and again. Now, how test series will help you in confidence building. Now, say if you take your test series irrespective of you have completed the syllabus or not, say on regular Sundays you give, and at the same time, that is 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. in the morning. Now a habit will be built. Regular practice will make it into your habit. So when you develop this habit of and you yourself assume that it is your uh, real time exam, that today is the fine, it's not the real test series but it is the UPSC prelims, so that with that pressure in your mind, if you give the test series, it will be a real time simulation of that d-day. So you will be practicing again and again. So it will not be a one time event in your mind. There will be a psychological benefit that your brain will not comprehend d-day as a one time event. It will be a normal next day to you. So you will be better able to handle your anxiety and pressure levels at that time. Also, how of now many of you, all of us have this question, that what is the uh, that magic number of questions, or the golden number of questions that we should aim to attempt, so that we are able to clear the cutoff very easily. So this can this number, this magic number, one has to come arrive at themselves only. It cannot be copied from some other toppers or teachers, simply because it depends upon your level of knowledge, your level of precision, your level of preparation. So, and this can be developed by you when you practice test series and you try to experiment. Say sometimes you attempt 85 questions. Of those 85 questions, let's say 10 are wrong. So, hey, your precision would be that at least 70 marks you are able to gain, and 10 is your negative marking. 10 questions would be your going into the negative marking. Or say you attempt 90 questions, because okay, so that is how you can twist depending upon your precision level. You will have to arrive that you will be attempting 75 questions, 80 questions, 85, 90, 95, or 100. Now the last would be how test series will help in error recognition. So how these, now when you read the question paper, of course, and when you check that why you have made a certain question wrong, even when you knew the question, you might realize that you have misread the question. The question was probably asking which of the following statements is incorrect, and you might have marked which of the statements is correct. So now make a note of what silly errors you do like this. It may be like misreading the question, wrong answer marking, again like the question was saying mark the incorrect one and you have marked instead the correct one. Misinterpreting the question, maybe the question was asking something about A and you misinterpreted it to be about B, and then you answered that question, so it was wrong. Or you are making mistakes while marking bubbles in the OMR sheet. So these are certain silly mistakes. You make a separate paper and write that these are the silly mistakes I make, and next time when you attempt that question, the test series, you read this sheet of paper that what are the silly mistakes you make, and make a mental note that I will not make these mistakes again while giving the question, the text paper again. Now the the most important question: how to analyze the test series we are giving. So like after you have given a test, what you will do is, now when you check your question paper, you have to make certain symbols and assign those symbols to the questions according to the list I have made. Like certain questions would be there that you knew were from statics and or the current affairs, which you knew 100%, and those are correct also. So and so you don't need not to worry about these questions. Now, so now the second type of question would be you thought you knew, but they were incorrect. So, then the third type of question would be, now certain questions, of course there will be 20 to say 35 questions which you know 100%. If you have prepared well enough, you will know the 100% answers to some about 35 questions. Now some would be that you are able to eliminate. Now about next 20 to 30 questions would be about of whose you might know, you don't know, like you're not 100% sure about, you might be able to eliminate at least two options, so you might be confused between two options. Now you have to make, in that case you have to make a smart guesswork, or slightly from the word from the language of the questions, from the keywords, you might be able to derive what the question is trying to ask. So you'll have to mark that those questions at tukka. So while you are reviewing your question paper, you'll mark two types of tukka questions that were correct and that were wrong. Fifth type of questions would be that you didn't know, you didn't have any iota of information about those questions. And sixth would be certain absurd questions which are asked just as a yoker to surprise the candidates, to create more anxiety, to maybe to increase the level of question paper. Those you don't need to worry about, those absurd questions. And this as I've already told you that you have to create certain symbols, so you can use markers or colored pens to mark these different type of questions. Now if you mark these different types of question, now what will happen is uh, you will not need to create a separate register, but you can mark and highlight those uh, relevant parts within the answer booklets of the prelims test series, and you can revise then and them only again and again. Now we'll see how to analyze the questions you have marked, you have read, but you did them wrong. So you'll have to analyze, like a certain question was asked, what is the date of adoption of the constitution? Now you'll have to know, but you marked it wrong. Now you'll have to analyze, you'll have to ask yourself a question that why did you mark that question wrong? Like, did you misread the question? The silly mistake would be that you misread the question, or you simply, because of the ignorance of the or the fatigue, you mark the answer wrong. So in that case you have to note it as your silly mistake and make a mental note that you will not repeat it again. But say there was an issue like you couldn't recall, or there was a basic lacune that you were confused what is the date of adoption, or what is the date of the constitution came into effect, then you'll have to revise it again. Second, now we'll come the questions you marked as tukka or purely guesswork, and they were correct. Now you'll have to recognize that they simply your pure guesswork. Then you'll have to read the answer provided in the answer booklet of the test series, and mark and the highlight the important parts in them. And if you think that it's really important, put a star mark to it, so that when you revise the test series again, you'll be able to read only the relevant, the highlighted part. But if instead you had use your logical elimination, like you have developed a pattern to recognize, say from the language of the question, from the keywords you are trying, or say some, like in case certain something is asked about the UN bodies, so like there is a misconception that the UPSC, if the data is wrong, then usually UPSC provides data as wrong, so you might have marked it as wrong. So on based on that you have marked your question, but you got the answer wrong. Then in that case you will have to make a mental note that always my assumptions or the so-called tricks are not going to work, and you have to be aware of it, where you know that certain some data, and so you don't have to apply that trick, the data is always wrong. Third kind of the questions whether you had marked tukka but they went wrong, so you have to be cautious. And learning is that why your logical reasoning or guesswork failed, and highlight the important and relevant information within the answer booklet so that you can revise it again and again. Now comes the questions which you didn't know. Now you'll have to see that why you didn't know, whether it was because you couldn't recall at that time, so in that case you will have to revise it again. If it was certain question was from the static part, of course it is a very big blunder, you have to revise it again, so that you have to stop the leakage then and there, and you have to be 100% proficiency in your static portion, so that you have a leeway to attempt more guesswork in the questions which you don't know, which might come from out of these standard books or certain current affairs. Now if the question was from current affairs, you have to recognize whether the question asked was in from your regular newspapers or magazines, and still you could not recall that, and then you have to revise them again and again and again. Now we come to the final part, and the most important thing is, like the after the analysis, even after how to, now you have learned how to use the test series and how to analyze the test series, but the task doesn't end here. You have to even revise these test series, these 50 or 60 or 70, whatever the number of test series you give, tests you give, whatever be the institutes you prefer. You make a number, define your number, that this many numbers, say 30 tests you give of Vision IS or Forum IS or whatever institutes. Now what you have to do is, say you attempt on Sunday test 1, and on the next Sunday you attempt test 2. So after giving test 2 and analyzing your mistakes and marking the questions and highlighting the relevant part, now what you'll have to do is, on the remaining part of the Sunday, you'll have to revise test 1, all the highlighted parts only, on only the questions which you have marked wrong, those you have to revise. So that, and when there is only 1 month or 15 days left, you can revise these test series again and again. So it will help you in your active recalling, and it will surely help you gaining marks above your cutoff. All the best.